Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and I just love to talk about movies. Guys, science fiction is one of my favorite genres. Y'all know that horror is at the top and science fiction. I love to see how people imagine the future would be, how it's conceptualized in movies. But I also have a soft spot for end of the world kind of movies. I like to see the different strategies that humanity may use to try to save the world. And Geostorm is one of those movies. So this came out a few years ago, so I feel free to talk about it. The main idea is that global warming had reached a point where there were different environmental disasters happening much more frequently than they were able to handle. So they decided to undergo a project where, based on this scientist, Jake, played by Gerard Butler, who believes Gerard Butler is a Jake? But anyway, he had this idea of building a series of satellites, I think it's like thousands of them, that will influence the climate from space and will also be able to, in real time, receive information about weather patterns and things like that in order to predict storms of the future and prevent them. Now, the science of it is they give you like a basic level understanding, and then they're like, oh, satellites in space somehow will influence the climate and prevent these superstorms, hurricanes, tornadoes, and things that have been destroying the planet at that time. The movie begins with a child narrating all of that information, how all of these nations came together and agreed that everyone would participate in creating a space shuttle that would be run and managed by, like, every nation would have a representative there to aid in the efforts. But the overall design was created by Jake. When the movie starts, Jake is in court because the United States wants primary control of what they call Dutch Boy, which is the program, and I guess space station as well. And he is refusing to participate in that. During the hearing, they told him that one of the first courses of action would be to replace a bunch of people that are currently working in the station as a way of being able to more closely monitor what's going on up there. And he refused to do that. It was a bit shocking to me to see a scientist in court blatantly disrespecting the panel. And his brother, who works with the government agency that manages the project, is like texting him, telling him to stop. Ultimately, Jake is fired and taken off the program. He's taken off the project. And his brother tells him that he has been put in charge of the program and that he was put in charge last week. So first we learn that they're brothers, that Max is the younger brother, and that they're kind of like a dynamic duo where Max is good with people and Jake is the brains, which I was like, okay, sure. So he gets fired and all that, and they have like a little fight where Max is like, you're not taking this seriously and there's nothing that I could do to help you with it at this point. So cut to 3 years later, there is an incident in the space station and somebody dies. There's an incident in the Middle East where an entire city is frozen in the middle of the desert. And everybody's like, what's going on? They realize that there's been a malfunction with Dutch Boy and that the only way to fix it is to call Jake and have him come in to fix it. Jake at this point is living in a trailer in what I think is Florida, like Hugh Jackman in Swordfish, living off the grid in this like tin trailer. His brother rolls up and is like, we have a problem. What are you gonna say to someone who says that, hey, the program that you built is malfunctioning and all of these people have died. So of course he agrees to go up to the station to fix the problem. As it turns out, there's a larger conspiracy afoot because another environmental incident occurs where I think the heat increased so much it caused like an earthquake. It looked like a gateway to hell opened up and everybody just kind of fell in it. It was really intense, and after that incident it becomes clear that something is going wrong with Dutch Boy and that someone could be influencing things on the station. So we have like a little bit of a mystery going on, like why are these malfunctions happening, who is responsible in the station. And then back on planet Earth we have his brother Max, who's also looking for the source of the problem there, and he's trying to get in touch with his friend who was the guy who nearly died in the second incident. So it's like a race against time because the events seem to be happening more and more, and every time they think that they found the source of the issue on the space station, they run into another problem. Both brothers are continuing on their investigation. They think they've located the source of the issue, and the conspiracy is much larger than they could have imagined. So enlisting the help of a plucky few, Jake figures out how to fix the Dutch Boy. It backfires. Next thing you know, the whole station is about to blow up. Max has figured out who is responsible. Next thing you know, they're running for their lives. The bad guys either get caught or die, and the movie ends with all of these nations coming together and attempting to rebuild the station. But not before devastating environmental disasters have occurred all over the world, and what I'm sure are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have died. I would say that Geostorm is more like San Andreas. Not really like Armageddon, not really like Deep Impact. There's just not enough character development for us to really feel invested in the characters. So like I said, the cast is huge and people quickly establish themselves as, oh, this is the brainy one who's very focused on their work there. This is the one that makes quips. This is the one who always says the wrong thing, or this is the one that takes their job too seriously. And there are a lot of characters like that. Zazie Beetz showing up in this movie was really random, and I loved her character. She has a couple scenes in the movie, but she like establishes personality, establishes her expertise like right away. And then she goes ghost. She's like, I don't need to be involved in this venture past a certain point, and I recognize that. In some movies, it's like somebody who got scooped along for a couple of scenes just for some whatever reason just hangs around until, I don't know, they die, or, you know, there's an accident or something that forces them to stay behind. But her character knew where it was natural for her to be and where it wasn't, and then she was gone. So Dana's character established very quickly how she knew Max and how much about Max that she knew, like him dating but technically not dating Sarah, Abby Cornish's character. Her character was a nice surprise and quite refreshing, and we only see her a couple of times, but it really made an impact on the story and would not have been able to move forward without her input in the story. So I really appreciate that nugget right there. Now, the movie does drag in places, even with all these action sequences and them being in space. The special effects of their faces behind the mask reminds me of The Flash, where you have both versions of Barry side by side and you could clearly tell which one is CGI face and which one isn't. So it's like a little blurry, looks like it's moving but it's not moving, it's just CGI. So that's a little distracting for me when I'm watching it. Some of the special effects were a little like, but I know that's difficult to do when you're dealing with space stuff. The zero gravity scenes were kind of neat. I liked certain parts of Jake's character. Like him as a dad, we don't really know. We assume he loves his kid. But there are few conversations that we see them having are not really telling us a whole lot. You know, who's the primary caretaker here? He ain't got no job. You know, and does she live with him? Like, what's going on? You know, his daughter has a bit of a stronger personality in the scenes that we see her in as well. Like her making that joke about not seeing her uncle. That's a joke, but it's not a joke. You know, just because you and her dad are having a fight doesn't mean that you disappear from your niece's life. And she was like, well. Look who is coming around here now. Her being very mature about the situation was a surprise to me. I really expected her to pitch more of a fit, but instead she was like, yeah, go save the world. I don't want you to go, but I know why you need to go. I can conceptualize that. So that was a nice surprise. Jake shows way more personality on the Dutch boy, and that might have been on purpose because it's his life's work and he lived there for years, you know, running things there. So when he gets there and he's complaining about certain things and he's like, this should be there and this shouldn't sound like this, and he meets the officer in charge, Ute, I think is how you pronounce her name. It was like, sure, okay, but explain to me why she's in charge. It's like, I love to see women taking primary roles in movies, but you need to explain why. He created the program, he created Dutch Boy, so that explains why he's in charge. I wanted to see or get a better idea of people's competency and why they're placed in certain roles, and I didn't really get that. People would give where they're from, what their title was, and we assume that they're the best of the best at what they do, but I wanted to see more of that, more examples of that. You know, especially because they don't really explain the science too much. They explain, you know, the weather stuff that's happening, but not specifically what they contribute to the station, you know. And I think that getting a sense of their interpretation of what they're doing there would have been very interesting to me. Do they have a cafeteria? How did they not lose their minds being up there so long? Like there's people from every nation that are working in the station together. It's this huge collaborative effort. Seeing them socialize or how they sleep, how they exercise, how they unwind, I don't know. I know that it's an emergency situation and you know, urgent things are happening, but that doesn't prevent us from watching scenes where Max and his girlfriend are having a glass of wine, or these whole like weird comedic moments between characters like Duncan and Jake. Weird. The president, played by Andy Garcia, and Max's character in that tiny smart car, having that like little jokey joke moment about you should marry her. We got time for that. We got time to learn how people socialize, how people are getting along on the space station. I don't know. That's just me. But I'd give Geostorm, I'd give it a 2 out of 5. I would. I mean, there's plenty of action, some twists and turns, namely Chang's character, who slipped the hands of death like 3 times, only to get it when he's like within eyesight of Max. That, I was like, oh, come on. So many times that man should have got it and didn't, and then manages to make it into Washington, D.C., is literal feet away from that man. And then he gets hit by a car. Please. That kind of just annoyed me. It's a huge global disaster that's happening. I wanted to feel close to the people that were supposed to be preventing it. And that was the thing that was kind of missing from the story for me. So, but you guys let me know what you think. Or do you guys avoid end of the world scenario kinds of movies? You guys let me know. But thank you all for spending your time here with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.